Hello everyone, and let's talk about Destiny 2's PC beta being announced. It's going to start on August the 28th if you've pre-ordered, or August the 29th if you haven't pre-ordered like me. You get an extra day, at least, of playing the Destiny beta. Don't think it's worth pre-ordering for just to get an extra day. They've also confirmed the minimum and recommended system requirements if you have a PC. So the minimum, we'll start with the minimum requirements and then we'll move on to the recommended. The minimum CPU is a Core i3 3250 or an FX, AMD FX 4350. Fairly low end CPUs really. The FX is a quad core and the i3 is a dual core with hyperthreading, so suggests that the game will support 4 logical cores, which is interesting. Should be fair, it is a console game at the end of the day, so consoles have pretty weak CPUs, so it's no real surprise that the CPU requirement is quite reasonable minimum requirements. The graphics card, it's going to require a GTX 660 or a Radeon HD 7850, 2 gigabytes of VRAM. It's not too bad, both cards are 2 gigabytes of VRAM. Again, pretty old cards there from about 2012. I think about 5-year-old video cards. That's not bad. For RAM, it's only 6 gigabytes of VRAM. Again, most gaming PCs should have at least 8, so that's fine. I mean, 6 gigabytes is fine. Suggest it's going to be probably Windows 64-bit operating system. Most PC games these days require a 64-bit OS. There's no requirement for the OS. I take it it'll be the usual Windows 7, Windows 7 Plus, basically 7, 8, 8.1, 10. I imagine. No word on whether they'll make a Mac version. Bungie, of course, started out making Mac games, so maybe they will. We'll move on. Maybe they will have a Mac client. Who knows? Blizzard's app, the Blizzard app, has a Mac client for World of Warcraft, so it is going to be available via the Battle. Is it still called the Battle.net app? Mine, it still says Battle.net, but apparently they renamed it to the Blizzard app. I see that they did have a new UI. For the Blizzard app, they made all the icons a lot smaller on the Blizzard app. I guess maybe they're going to sell more third-party games. I mean, I know they've got the StarCraft remake, and of course they're selling Destiny 2 via the Blizzard app, as we say. Keep calling it Battle.net, 'cause I'm so used to it being Battle.net app for so many years. But there you go. So we'll move on to the recommended system requirements. They recommend a Core i5 2400. Which is, pretty low end. Again, a 2012 CPU. Or an AMD Ryzen 5 1600X. That's kind of concerning because the i5 2400 is the non-K version. It's basically the non-K 2500 from 2012. The 2500K is the one that a lot of people bought. It was one of the most popular i5 CPUs. Still works to this day, but this is the i5 2400, which is its little brother. Really, the non-overclockable version, essentially. Or you've got the Ryzen 5, which is the top-of-the-line Ryzen 1600X. Or the top-of-the-line Ryzen 5, should we say. And was released this year. So that's a bit weird. Those CPUs shouldn't be equal. The 1600X, I think it's the 6-core, 12-thread. There, I mean, the i5 is 4 cores, 4 threads, so, it's a bit weird. They're a bit weird. I mean, why doesn't it do, like, the 1500 or the 1500X? Or what is it? The 1400, I think, is the lowest end Ryzen 5, so a bit weird there. I think you should be fine with the lower end Ryzen. You're probably fine if you've got an FX, an FX 6 or 8 series. Should be fine as well, because that i5 2400, it's it's still a good CPU, but it's hardly modern, really. The graphics cards are GTX 970 or Radeon R9 390. cards. Again, those GPUs are, you know, mid-range, you would call them these days. I know people get a bit upset when you say, oh, the 970 is a mid-range card now. Yeah, in this day and age, yeah. The GTX 1060, which generally performs the same as a 980, you know, will outperform a 970, should we say. And, you know, it's kind of the similar price that a 970 was when it was the main mid-range card. But yeah, the 970 is still still arguably the most popular GPU out there. The R9 390 is, of course, AMD's equivalent of the GTX 970. It doesn't say VRAM requirements, but you know, the 970 had 3.5 gigabytes with the half a gigabyte of slower RAM, so 4 gigabytes in total, and the R9 390 has 8 gigabytes of VRAM. So, you know, RX 570, probably around that kind of level, you should be fine. I'm guessing that'll get you 1080p and 60 FPS. 8 gigs is the system RAM as well. Again, that's pretty standard these days. They've said that the test machine that Bungie were using for the event was an i7 7700K, and they were using a GTX 1080 Ti, which is a bit of overkill, really. It's a bit overkill, really. Destiny 2 does come out, I think it's October the 24th on PC. It's nearly 2 months after the console version. The console version is out about a month, actually. It's beginning of September. It's nearly August as I'm recording this. It's the 28th of July I'm recording this video. Probably, I might go out, might put it out 29th or something like that. But yeah, there you go. The specs are fairly reasonable, actually. They're fairly reasonable. I would say the 970, 390, you know, the 970, a lot of people owned it as one of the most popular GPUs, so that's fine for the sort of higher end, for the sort of, imagine 1080p 60 FPS. You should be fine with that. GTX 1060 is kind of the new 1060 RX 580. They're the new kind of mid-range 1080p 60 FPS cards. But again, they will outperform the 970 and the 390 at least. So at least you've got that as a sort of benchmark. If that's the benchmark for 1080 60 and you've got a 1060, then you should be okay. You should be okay with that. But anyway, there you go. That is all for this video. So thank you for joining me, and we'll see you again soon. And goodbye.